Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Library Renovations Addition Building Committee meeting of January 9th at 6 p.m. I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call. BG.
Here.
Dave Nagel. Here. Christopher Riley.
Here.
Leanne Mankey.
Here.
Kim Rada.
Here.
Who did I miss?
Karen. Yourself.
Karen. Brenna. Well, this is just supposed to be for the commission, right? And myself, Eric Hinckley. We do have a quorum, so we can begin. Let's roll call. Do we have any public comment from any members of the public here this evening? No.
Not yet.
Okay.
I'll wait for the end.
Approval of the prior meeting minutes, which I don't have in front of me. I don't know if they went out.
I did not see them unless.
We'll table that item till the next meeting. I apologize for that. Next item is setting the 2025 meeting schedule. I know typically we try and do this second, third Thursdays of the month. Is that still something that everybody is amenable with?
I can do the second or third
Second or third?
Thursdays.
I can do it if we start at 6:30 versus 6. That's the only.
Okay.
I had to kind of arrange a few things tonight.
Okay. Is a 6:30 start time problematic for anybody? No.
I can do that. I think.
The only, Kim might have a
Kim might have
conflict.
conflict.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem for me. I know the first and the third are well, Dave and I are both on the Anna Reynolds and the John Wallace committees. The second Thursday is the fire commissioners meeting, and I'm the liaison, one of the liaisons to that, and then every other month on the third Thursday, it's Veteran Firefighters Association. I'm a member of that, so I try to get to those, and both of those start at 7.
Okay.
What about the fourth Thursday? Just throwing it out there. So that, I don't know where that stands with everybody.
I could probably do the fourth Thursday, sure.
What you, Chris?
I'm sorry, what did
I
you?
think-
The fourth
I mean,
Tuesday?
I think the Thursday
Suggested.
fine is just
Thursday,
picking up
sorry,
my
yes.
kids. That was the only.
Fourth
No, I-
Thursday,
But if you had the meeting conflict.
All right, the third one,
Not that I'm aware of.
I guess so.
I think
Yeah.
fourth Thursday. would-
Because the only Thursday that's out for me is CERT on the first Monday. I mean, the first Thursday of the month.
First and third.
It would be the second,
Okay,
fourth.
Second
What would
and
be
fourth,
switching
then
to?
would probably be, what sounds like would work.
I'm
Because
fine.
she's-
I'm kind of blocked out every Thursday for now, so.
fourth Thursday.
Fourth
Fourth Thursday will work for me as well. I just can't do the first.
And
The only thing I would say is to check to see if there are any holidays or
yeah,
federal days we're
Thanksgiving.
not supposed to meet.
Right.
Thanksgiving's the only holiday that would interfere with the. fourth
Except unless
Thursday.
we fall on July 4th. I don't know where it falls this year.
I think it falls a
it's
little
on a
earlier.
Friday.
Oh, okay, I didn't go that far out yet.
No.
And
We can change them anyway.
so what I can do is, I'll get a tentative schedule together. We won't vote on it tonight. And I'll push it out to you guys. I'll do two options. I'll do the second and the fourth Thursday. I'll check for holidays and all that good stuff, and then we can, take action at the next meeting. We will have to schedule that later, this evening, just so we can have something to move on. So, table this. Well. So, next on the agenda is the review of the library renovation project from the Board of Trustees.
Okay.
I assume that
But-
Christopher
Yes.
is gonna be doing that presentation or discussion.
The discussion, at least, I know I sent to you the presentation, as we had it. I didn't know technology wise whether we could bring it up or not, but,
You can start discussing.
no, I'll start discussing it, yeah. So, we had been working with the architect, Andrew Berman and, Vinci, so, for a while now of, getting a, presentation together, that would be, at least at the starting point, be an introduction, introduction to the town council from Lark. Was kind of the initial intention with it, and then we, get everything more firm and finalized and formalized by the time it goes for vote for, to be put on referendum. And we had, various trustee members. Okay, we bring it out there. We had various trustee members review, provide feedback back and forth. We provide feedback back and forth with the architect. We had the architect in-house at least once or twice to kind of go over what we were looking for. As I said, I'm happy to say that before the holidays, we were able to finally get a form of the presentation that the Board of Trustees was fairly happy with being able to provide to Lark.
I
And then,
haven't seen that.
you haven't seen that yet?
No,
I know-
did
I
that
know
get
I-
shared with the rest of us?
I know,
No, we didn't go.
The December 16th.
I didn't go.
Yeah, I didn't get one.
Yeah.
You want me to
I
turn
I
that
even
Yeah,
on?
you
looked
can
to
just
see if
find-
it
yeah.
was attached to this meeting, but
Come over here to the chair and then you guys can look over my shoulder.
Yeah.
Because
This is
I know that end of the
this
table
the
is a little bit
latest?
more conversant.
The latest incarnation is what this is.
December 16th.
Okay, no, I
yeah,
didn't
we
see
haven't
that.
seen
So this is where we're at.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure, I guess, the distribution for the presentation or everything. So I think I started with sending it to Eric and then figured it would get distributed from,
yeah, I
kind of from that
apologize
point.
for that. I've just been carrying this stuff.
No, that's all right. I just wasn't aware if I needed to have sent it
No,
out.
you
as well,
can, you
so.
can send it out to me again and you can distribute it, or you can respond to the chain. the
Okay.
Contact, push it out to them.
Push it out that way.
Yep.
Okay.
But I mean, I think this is cool to go over too.
Yeah, we can certainly, I'm sure Christopher and Leanne has been involved for a little bit.
And we've been just a little bit involved.
So if there's anything you guys do want to review and go over with us.
Let me see if I can bring up an electronic copy of my phone so I can at least.
I mean,
Gotta
if you
talk to it
forward
or-
it to me
or-
now, I could probably bring it up.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good. See when we
I
get-
just gotta look for when
we
they
go back
last
on.
had it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it, that's it. This is a popular corner.
And actually, I think I sent out the copy to the chain I think I had on there. But I sent it to Diane, but I sent it to Kim, Leanne, Lisa, Dave, Lauren and VG. But I can forward it again. See.
When did you send it out so I can?
That was sent out on December 17th.
The day after this.
No, I didn't get it.
I mean, the date on the presentation was probably the 16th. I think,
Right,
I
and
think it was just a day
yeah,
before.
December 16th is the presentation, because that's when we had it finalized with
All right,
the architect.
let me see if I can,
That was a special meeting, right?
you
Yeah.
want me to send it to
You can
you?
send it, send it to my work email and I'll just see if I can open it and
Okay.
just share it.
Sure.
I get it. And I might have just just for you.
There we go. Okay. But it also means I now actually have a copy of my phone, so I can talk to it if you,
Yeah.
all right.
An idea of what service is. And
Did you want me to talk to?
go for
her,
it. I was
Leanne?
just, I was
Okay.
waiting for you to
No,
load that, that's
No,
all.
no, that's all right.
How large is it? If
If
it's a huge file, it's gonna break my email.
that I don't know. It doesn't
It's
quite
a
tell me
good
here.
sized file.
It is a good sized file. It's got a lot of pictures and stuff in it.
Yeah. there's a lot
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, so,
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Maybe we can resend it. So
No,
you can-
hold on, let me just,
Do you want this in front of you, Chris, so you can?
Yeah.
talk to it?
yeah. I think that'd be easier for me to read than, as I said, I have a copy on my phone too, but.
There you go. So Chris, I'm just trying to pull up here. And I can.
It's all about getting steps in back and forth.
Well, I forwarded it to Eric again, but.
So large, he's in both his emails. But it might be
I got
about
it.
You got it? Hey,
Hey, all right.
and we didn't lose, Kim or Karen.
they're up there. They should be able
Oh,
to
good.
see
Can you
Okay,
see
yeah.
them there?
All right.
I can see it, all right.
All right, so
There, doesn't matter.
let me know they're all set.
I'm good.
If you go through, sure.
Alrighty.
From the first page, it's just basically showing the exterior from Cedar Street. So you can still see that the original building, but if you look towards the back, you'll see more of the addition that will be planned for the library itself. Go to the next slide. As I said, that was just mostly just
Yeah.
a picture of myself. Yeah, there's a lot more daylighting, I guess, just a lot more windows so that letting the light in during the into the library versus we're kind of a little closed in right now. So not allowing you to,
Yeah, it's not wanting me to. It's just fine.
if you click on it, will it work? Okay.
Might just be a lag.
All right, so let me start off by just giving a little brief history with the library. The year it opened, what the current square footage of the library is, because later on we go into how much it has expanded. And we also mentioned our mission statement, which is partially a good portion of the reason where you want to expand is, you know, we're trying to fulfill our mission of providing information, education, and cultural enrichment to Newington. And we want to continue doing that. And we need to do it with more, obviously more space. And one of our Board of Trustee members, Kelly DeHaas, came up with the slogan that you see up there, which we thought was a good way to kind of show that we're not throwing away everything that the library was, because I mean that, you know, the history is very important to us, but we are looking to try to make it, you know, adaptable and flexible so that it can be continue to be used in the future.
It's just-
Below.
I think it's just.
Okay.
It's just lagging.
It's just-
Yes, lagging. All right, so we want to show, you know, why the library is so important. So we were putting up for the past year's statistics of how many card holders we have. We had a collection size of over 160,000 materials. We also have over 250,000 items were circulated in the library in that past year. So just kind of showing that it's getting a lot of use, and you know, if our community expands, and that we're going to need more space for that. And over here, we're also showing all the various programs and the number of attendees that we had, which, as you can see, you know, having over 800 programs with over 32,000 attendees. I mean, we have quite a few people who come and visit the library for all sorts of uses and not just for books.
And I imagine with the expansion, there's the opportunity for even more.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
We have a huge space crunch because just from fire martial law. We have the Friends are doing a Winterfest next week, and they can only sell 250 tickets because that's max. We are maxed out.
Wow.
That's using people in the stacks. So 32,000 people is a lot when you're talking, you know,
Maximum
programs that
250.
are, you know, 20, 30 people at a clip.
Yeah, and then some of the more popular programs too. I mean, you can't, you know, obviously get everyone into there because once again, your space limited, so. Okay, so we also want to then get into the history of what we've been doing to try to get this library renovation going. We've you know, developed a number of studies to reimagine the library and its services. And here we just list several that have been done, you know, all the way back to 2015 of trying to get information in to see what I'll say the library of the future should look like. Kind of ending with the Lucy Robin Wells library concept design, which is what we're coming up with at this point. Then we figured at this point, we didn't originally have this in our presentation, but we've done this more recently. I guess I kind of maybe took a page from the Anna Reynolds presentations and said, okay, let me show kind of the library warts and all of, you know, why we really do need, you know, to do something with the library, to renovate it, to expand it. And so I think Lisa was kind enough to give me a bunch of pictures and let me know a lot of the challenges they were facing. So in this case, I'm trying to show that, there's been leaks in the roofs and skylights.
Yeah, I think the one over the stacks is good.
The stacks with the big hole in the ceiling, yeah.
And actually where you're seeing that the line, you can see the atrium windows
Yep.
above the window there. That is like an annual event to have the leaks there.
Yeah.
And depending upon how bad the leak is and what time of day it occurs and whatever, depends on how bad the damage and then the repair is.
So, and then we get into the lack of space issue, which is quite a problem. As you can see in like the left-hand picture, when we have events, I mean, we're always crowded in there with the stacks. I've had my hand in the annual events all the time of, pushing stuff away and trying to make room. So, just kind of showing that there's, limited space for families, lack of space for resources and people. If you look up at the top picture, it's kind of where our staff currently resides. I mean, for a while there, I know that there's been desks where they've had to double up. And so there's need for more space for that. And just for programming in general, like we were saying, is that we have 32,000 attendees for the programs, but a lot of programs can still be capped because as you can see, like this one here was a pretty full house on the bottom right there. Excuse me. And then there's also inadequate space for parts of the collection as well, just kind of showing you how everything's kind of crowded together with a lot of the books, like especially in like the children's section and the large print section. It's just all very, tight of everything that's in there. Yeah. And then we wanted to get into the children's and teens area, because if you go into the children's area upstairs in the library, there's not a lot of room for children to kind of play around and everything. I mean, I know there's a table where my kids like the electronic stuff, but the little center area for just families to join, you can only have maybe a couple of families at the most in there. And then the teen area is even worse because it's like they got all the collection in that one little alcove. And then there's not really a lot of space for them to just, gather, if they want to, do anything in that section itself. It's, as I said, it's very, very small.
And it's also got no outdoor view.
No, they're right in the center of the building.
Yeah.
They back
Yeah.
up to the mechanical room.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I understand right now everybody's making do, but I think you could get more teens and stuff in there. If, like maybe they have a window.
Window, yep, something to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we wanted to kind of show also that storage capacity is near limits. I mean, there's places where we have stuff stacked under desks and hallways. We have the storage shed and everything like that. I know I went out there to, bring out, tables for the race day, but, that's pretty well packed in there. And then, whenever we have to do anything for the community room and taking out the chairs and taking out stuff there, it's very limited as far as where we can store stuff
It
right
also
now.
seems like you could have concerns too about people potentially getting hurt, having to move all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when it's packed in tight. I understand that probably you're still gonna have storage, but when it's packed in like this, it seems like there could be greater concerns that way.
Yeah, and I mean, we are also thinking towards the Friends of the Library too, because they have storage needs for their books, for their Friends of the Book Sale. And right now, a lot of that gets stored. I remember seeing it down in the basement, which, is not very conducive to having to bring all that up and doing all that stuff and everything like that. And I also get concerns when, I hear about, like, I think there was recently another library where they had flooding and their basement flooded out, and they basically, their friends' sales, I mean, they were kind of, stuck at that point, so.
Well, and there are other things like, for example, the sheds is where a lot of their friends is, that those are just, I mean, they're stopgap measures. They're not truly,
It's not like
they're
a
much
plan.
better than the old shed, but it's still, which was an old trailer, but it's still questionable. And when you come to something like, which is the board, which basically is supposed to be the, ownership of the library, we literally don't even have a file cabinet. The records for the library are not in one location because they're scattered around, because they're just, as you can see, like this little section under the desk. I mean, that's not uncommon.
And then just wanted to, kind of wanted to show the spaghetti of the technology that we have from the original building. I mean, the last expansion was, I believe, in 1988, and obviously at that point, we were not quite on the cusp of all the technology. So you're kind of limited with what you currently can do in the library, due to the age of the building and due to what's in there and everything. Like as it's mentioned up there's no server room for the library. It's in the collection management area with no protection from heat or cold. So if something goes, that, could be problemsome. And then one of the main things that I know keeps, kind of being a sticking point is, there's only a limited number of parking at the library itself. And I know that it's a constant issue for library patrons, oftentimes there's overflow from other things as well, but there's only so much space for parking and everything. So these were all challenges that we were looking at when we were looking to do the reimagined library.
Is there, and this might be something that already exists and we can take it offline if need be, but I remember asking something about like what the bus delivery to the library is in terms of like people being able to come and go from the library via the bus.
There is a bus stop along Cedar. I think it's pretty close to Town Hall. Can't remember exactly.
Is it on town hall side or is it senior center side?
Senior center.
Senior
has a
side, I
stop.
think.
That's what I thought.
I think it actually goes in the driveway.
Which is totally great. My whole thing is just that it's just another way as we're planning for the future of thinking about more mass transit. And like, I think, and maybe you're getting to this, but also the biking, being able to bike to the library, especially during good weather. It's just the things that I think about because we're essentially planning for a much longer time period, so.
As I said, those good notes. I was taking them down, so.
Of course,
Yeah.
that goes beyond this project.
Yeah, I understand that that's not necessarily tied to this, but being able
Something to consider.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the like space to park the bikes would be, just like space to park the cars could very much be a part of this project. And I don't know that it necessarily changes a lot of the space, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the architects would say, but I think bike parking would definitely be.
I thought that I remember seeing at least a bike rack in one of them.
There is,
Yeah.
and to
There
be
is.
honest with you, with the proposal that's in front of you, which is obviously not
Yeah.
hard and fast. I do know that there is some available lawn, however you want to call it, because the front of our building, which is really the back of our building, because our address is on Garfield, but Cedar Street's doesn't have an entranceway, but there is the lawn. There could
Yeah.
potentially something be purposed there in the
Yeah.
future, so there would be available space.
So now that we've gone through the challenges, now we're getting into what the objectives of this reimagined library would be. So, as I said, this is a conceptual design. This was what the architect had helped us with and everything to kind of show kind of an idea of, having a computer commons, a children's room and play area, having it more expanded and larger than what we currently have. But basically just, expanding services offered for the growing population. I do know we always hear about the housing that comes into town and everything, and, thinking towards the future of Newington, is there gonna be, more people that are gonna be involved in needing the library? Providing a space that just supports the lifelong learning that people need for library, and as well as we keep stressing on it, and you'll see it throughout the saying of flexible and adaptable, providing spaces that allow for, all variety of programming that we may come across. As I said, the technology, as you saw from that picture there and everything like that, offering, upgrading and integrating that throughout the library itself. And really trying to be the community anchor, being like, a center for a community that, people can go to and get all different types of, services and attend different programs. And then, as I said, attending the free programs and resources, that people are used to when they've been coming to the library, but now we can offer it to more people, and maybe it'll allow us to offer, different types of programs just because we have more space now. So. Some of the features of the reimagined library and everything, we were looking to do a larger community room. I know that, the one that we have right now, it's where kind of the art is displayed. It's not a large size to have, large events in, per se. Having more meeting and study rooms. additional quiet reading spaces. The computer commons was kind of the concept that was being shown earlier. We were thinking also a makerspace for creative minds, because there's, you know, a lot of places talk about that nowadays, of, you know, providing a place for people to just, you know, do stuff and make stuff. Library of things, basically, right now, I mean, I think we can, you know, you could check out like a ukulele and other things from the library. But kind of expanding I think some of our offerings, for that and everything, as far as what people can, you know, take out of the library besides, you know, just books. They can take out stuff that they might actually need to use.
I know that some of this may depend on what gets approved, but when it says like larger community room, I'm wondering if that's the kind of thing that could be described, like maybe a juxtaposition between, here's the size of the current one, and here's what we would hope to be or building.
Yeah.
Just because I'm thinking about,
What's the limit for who can, how many people we can have in the community room? Do you know that off the top of your head?
Yes, it's supposed to be 60.
like, even if we said,
The room I think we're talking about is what, one?
It's
No.
about this,
I
think
think
it's either 120 or 160. For some reason, those numbers are in my head. I apologize for not having it right there. But another nice thing about the feature of the way that this particular concept has has outside access. Because right now, we can only have the community room open when the library
library's
itself is open. Therefore, you have to have staffing and everything else, which the way this current configuration has it drawn up is it's a separate entrance with bathrooms, and you could close off the remainder of the library.
and I think those are great things to just include when describing this. Just because it's the kind of thing, like, larger can mean different things to different people, especially if they don't understand what it is now. Like, larger could be going from 60 to 80. And somebody else is thinking, hey, we're gonna have a room that can hold 500.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is like,
yeah.
no
Yeah.
way, you know, like, but just being able to have, even if it's just, hey, it depends, but we're looking at from this size to this size.
Yeah, and I know some of the feedback that I've received and was kind of, you know, saying, okay, you know, doing a room by room almost type comparison of some of the areas and everything like that. I know for this initial presentation, we didn't quite have, you know, all those numbers figured out, but everything, but I expect that, you know, this presentation will go through iterations before it's the final formalized one that, you know, will go through there, so.
It could even be a space like this room is a much larger room, and the walls can be divided, like this goes to 3 separate rooms.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So this large one, and this is split in half, so you have 2 smaller ones.
Oh, okay.
So they can all be active at the same time. In this
Yeah.
particular case, each one has its own TV and can be viewed separately.
Okay,
Or you can have the room completely open and all the TVs are active.
On
on
one.
So, I mean,
Okay.
those are options to
okay.
consider for the space.
Nice and flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a maker space, flex space, whatever you want.
which it sounds like it's very much part of what's being thought of, but I think just being able to describe it or show
Okay.
examples of it, even if it's examples of this, could be helpful.
I think the focus has been from the get-go, to try and not limit ourselves. While the 1988, 89, I mean, it was a great improvement from where we were. We were already behind the times, because a
Mhm.
lot of things, technology, other things have just grown tremendously, but also things like, Chris mentioned the stacks. Stacks were permanent then.
Yeah.
We've taken some out and we're on rolling so that we can open up that middle section. But there's a lot of the library that has that purpose is only one purpose,
For
cannot
access.
be used for anything else.
Yeah.
And I think the goal here was to make as, you know, maybe what we're using here for makerspace now, potentially in 10 years would be something else.
Right, as
Yeah.
long as it's flexible, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a thing, because I think initially we were starting with a lot of specifics, I'll say, and then realizing that, well, if you put it all and say, you know, it's only for this purpose for now and everything, you know, whether, you know, it might also be a case of, you know, some people might like this, some people might not like that, and it's better to be adaptable of, okay, well, what does the community kind of want now? And then, you know, 10 years, you know, from now, you know, they want something different in that area, and, you know, just making it available, I think, is what the main thing is.
Also, again, coming back to space utilization, and this is, I guess I'm asking you all, because we know this too well. So sometimes you just assume everyone knows what you're talking about.
Well, that's
Kind
why
of
I'm
like what
bringing
you're
up,
saying, the other.
yeah, I'm just
Um,
bringing up
so-
a couple of things that I'm
So
like.
some of
not
the
sure.
things that, I don't know whether it comes out in this, but one of the intents that I think we have here is, for example, I'm thinking of, we have the teen room.
Mhm.
Typically, your teen room is gonna be utilized after school and on the weekends, but during the day, there's that dormant period. Could we then utilize it as a business center or study rooms or business meeting rooms or whatever? That's the kind of thing what we're trying to do. It's
Mhm.
not just how it's configured, but also the usage having more than one use.
And I think like we've kind of globally talked about is, you can discuss that, this is the teen room during those peak hours for them. And then otherwise it's flex space. It can be used for, off the cuff events or something like that, meetings or other, whatever.
And as I said, the problem here is that we know that only because we've kind of had the conversation so many times. So
I think it's gonna be important to state that, but I understand not wanting to like tie into, it has to be this.
Right.
So to what he just said in terms of like stating it, like spaces do have a purpose, but we're looking to build all of this so it can be multi-purpose. And I think that you guys probably have that in there. I just, because I'm not reading it, I'm more listening to you. I don't know if it's stated. So, because you stated it here. I don't know if it's stated there, so.
well, and that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying perhaps, as I said, when I read it that
Yep.
way.
And I think it's gonna be good to have it stated, even if it's just in the objectives. Everything that you're gonna see here are examples, are like modular examples of how we can use this space. But what we are looking to do is create a space for the future that allows us to change as the times change.
Write that down.
Well,
It
yeah,
wasn't
that's it.
marketing.
You want it to be.
You're
able to
saying you go
evolve.
beyond just saying
Yes.
flexible.
Yes, go beyond saying flexible, go beyond saying modular, like letting people know that what we're creating here is something for not just now, but also what's to come.
Right, whatever that may be.
Because
Because you're
many
saying
people,
that,
many people just think the library, this is
Yeah.
what the library is.
and we're
We
gonna have.
know it isn't and won't be,
Yeah.
but this is, there's that mindset, and that goes just across the board for many things in terms of the town government facilities, whatever. That everyone thinks, even on the council thinks, okay, we know that, we talked about it, but the general population doesn't know.
Mhm.
And it's not because we haven't tried, they just don't know.
They're trying to pay their bills.
So continuing on our thing, as you can see some concepts here for the multi-purpose outdoor spaces. We were planning for more outdoor spaces, which is, kind of where we were talking about where, there could be possibly be some bike racks or, spaces for that. But it's also so that you could have more events. We'll see that, a little bit later. I talk about that. And then a well-displayed collection, just kind of more open of a collection. I don't know if sometimes I go through some of those aisles in the library and I feel like I'm going through a narrow
It also
gateway.
looks dark, like the pictures that you're showing, even like there with like the darker background, it still looks more open,
Yep.
like.
And that was basically the intention, was just so that to show that, it's more spread out and everything like that, but you're able to see more what's in the collection than, having to kind of.
And it's almost like for those people who maybe the library isn't their like happy place, but they want to be more there, it has an invitation to be able to come in and look at something maybe in a bite size, as opposed to, I have to go through all those stacks.
Mm.
Oh,
And not claustrophobic.
yes,
Maybe taking a page from I'll say the bookstores, like the Barnes.
Like the
Noble.
Barnes Noble, you go in and you have.
Go in and it's more.
And in some ways, you don't need a huge amount more space, you just need to make it in a way that it doesn't look, like I said before,
Yeah,
claustrophobic.
it's visually appealing, and it's inviting.
Mentioned bookshelf on the walls. Oh, yeah. The current iteration are the stacks, which is the library of years past and continuing on. Moving forward, libraries, there are library advisor in terms of helping us come up with strategies and whatever. Libraries of the future tend to put their stacks on the walls, so that you then put it on the side, and then the middle is open ground, whether you have movable stacks or you have programming or
Open
whatever.
Floor plan.
Right.
Yeah.
a lot of too, the other thing that, I think the staff always comes back to is that, visibility. If they're sitting at circulation or reference, wherever they may be in these locations, when you have those high stacks, they've lost it after the first stack.
Mhm.
So lower
Hmm.
sight lines.
The other thing to add to that a little bit, Leanne, is we just find so much with being able to display materials sort of outward facing. It's
Yeah.
things just fly off the shelves. It's much more appealing.
So this kind of goes into the most recent history of what we've been doing. As I said, it was working with Andrew Berman, architect, developed the concept design, help us with this, presentation. You see a lot of the, pictures, are just, as I said, conceptual design. The end product won't necessarily look exactly like that, but it's to give people an idea of what it could look like. And then I try to go through kind of the general process as we understood it to, go through. We provide to Lark provides to town council, and then, once it gets on referendum, then it goes out to the voters, I may be skipping steps in between there, I'm sure.
But I think that that's the kind of information that there's gonna be a small subset that's interested. But I would say the broader public may not be interested in the process so much
Okay.
as the outcome. So there will be people going, well, wait a second, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Who's trying to, I don't know, whatever they think, like who came up with this? Whose pocket is this coming out of,
Yeah.
et cetera. But so they will want to know what were the steps? How did we get here? But my thought coming in sort of as like general public is so many people are more going to be like looking at the pictures and like, okay, what is it we're going to be able to get from this? What kind of space are they looking to build and have available? And not as interested in what was the process we went through to get there. So I know that there are those people, I just
Yeah.
think they're gonna be a smaller subset.
So you're saying one paragraph versus,
Or like a link where somebody can go through and read the full process in
Process.
detail, but it's not written out in everything, like, hey, you can go here if you wanna see what all the steps were that were taken and what the timeline was to develop this. Kind of thing, because I'm thinking it'd be available online, not just
so to
paper.
the town council, you're saying we should present it, but because obviously that is an audience for
Yes,
it.
that's a smaller.
But then in terms of when we're out there selling to the public, the link maybe that has a separate
Yeah,
set.
so that they don't get bogged down, like, cause so many people get to a place now and they just stop, and you might not have gotten to the juice, some of the
Yep.
juicy parts. But if you let them know, if you wanna know the details, you can find it
Yeah,
here easily, but we're gonna take you through what the outcome was.
okay.
And yes, I do think the town council will be interested in the timeline and the process,
And the cost.
in the cost,
Oh,
especially,
yes.
but I think the general.
And
public-
some of the public is going,
Is gonna
because
be interested in the cost as
because
well.
as we all know,
Yeah.
what they vote on in a
Yeah.
referendum is
The money.
not only
allocation.
what the concept is, but more importantly, what does it cost? And is it worth what is being presented? Is it realistic for expending that much money? Talking with my counselor hat on for the moment.
And I feel like so often people don't necessarily understand what the costs are really. Like, I just was so disappointed. Like, I'm a swimmer. I was really looking forward to like the pool getting updated and stuff. And when people voted that down and I was reading comments, again, this is online, but they're just like, no, it should cost less. It should cost. I'm like, where do you, my mom, who is a stickler for money, was like, where do they think this is gonna cost less in this day and age? Like, so it was amazing to me that she, who's much older than I am, was like, didn't make sense. But there's a lot of people who don't get it and understand. They're just worried about what else is gonna be coming out of my pocket.
There has to be the justification given
Yeah. Yeah.
as to, for an expenditure.
Mhm.
All right, so once again, we revisit, what the exterior looks like along with our slogan. Then we get into some more of the specifics, like the exterior improvements. As we said, it expands a lot of the outdoor area. There'll be a new entrance area with outdoor seating. Excuse me, I'm just gonna open the garage kit. And then we will return.
Oh, I love the farmers markets.
One of the things that you'll be able to see, I know you're working, Chris, so is going into is that the library itself is expanding the parking within the same footprint of
Ooh,
land
Hmm.
substantially, 27 to 75.
that's huge.
And it still gives us all this open space. So it's just a matter of configuration with the new building.
But that's also a great value add. Because like when you think about the other events that go on, that end up using that parking space, that's a nice value add that can be sold as part of the sharing this, marketing it.
Yeah, I think that's why we made a point about the parking
Mhm.
in this, because we know that is a big point with a lot of people. So as Leanne was saying, it says right up there about the 75, but then as I said, a lot of outdoor seating and for reading, for various events that could be held out there. I mean, right now, we don't have too much that's held outside. I mean, we gather for the race in the little, alcove area there and everything like that, but there's, this would greatly expand a lot of that area there as well.
It also becomes a destination. Like instead of having to go someplace where you have to buy a coffee or you have to buy something, you could go just get a drink of water and like hang out at the library without necessarily having to spend additional funds.
One of the reasons that we found that this was such a needed space, and while it is not quite in the sight lines,
Mhm.
but when we had COVID, everything was shut down. And if we'd had this type of an open space, it would have allowed us to potentially, when things lightened up just a bit, to be able to run functions and programs. But with our constrained space,
No
there was
way.
no way.
And also I'm imagining just the air filtration, because that was such a huge factor with COVID. Like even in the times when they were allowing people to be indoors, I'm imagining that restricted the number of people too.
All right, and we wanted to make a point about sustainability, since we're on the outside here. The proposed features that include solar panels. The green roof, from what I understand, is like they call it a sedum plant, I guess, on the roof. But that's also broken out separately in a cost there and everything, so
Mhm.
just keeping that in mind. As I said, there's a lot of daylighting. You saw a lot of the windows and everything, so that allows a lot of the fresh light in there. And then just looking to see here, efficient heating, electric. Yeah, I think we just kind of listed several things that could be considered for the sustainable for the library itself.
And something I think that you just said, but it might be good to include, is the way that solar panels can save money on the electric bill, the way that having the green roof can save money on cooling, like being able to associate them with this money savings in the long run, I think is a great way of presenting it as well, not just sustainability.
And I think the public is aware of that because
Yeah.
it's been done through facilities throughout town, including the
Mhm.
town
Yeah.
hall. So reminding that it's
Yep.
also,
Yeah.
I understand that we've
Yes.
been doing that and many people have done it in their homes.
Yeah.
Continuing the trend.
Yes,
Just going to an efficient system versus the cobbled together system there is in the current
Right,
buildings
because you're,
will gain us huge
And the
amounts.
thing is, that's one of the things that I think you guys definitely understand. I don't know how much the general public may understand that unless you state it.
Okay.
The savings of going from a cobbled together, we're making do as things have changed, to having one that's designed to be able to change.
Yeah.
right, I mean, because existing, you have, original building in addition to everything, and you're marrying all these mechanicals together as you're aware.
Yeah.
You're cutting ductwork or whatever you're trying to do to make things work, and is this handler gonna, now have to be upgraded, but there's no room to upgrade it because the space that it's in. It's all these things with the mechanicals.
And one of the problems that I have being in mechanical electrical trades is that I come from 40 years of major mechanical rooms to we have a closet with something on the wall. But right now we're dealing with the space that's taken up with all of that other.
Dedicated mechanical space is
Yeah.
much better than carving it out of your
Mhm.
existing space.
As far as interior improvements, we're talk about, as I said, the transparent glass facade that's there. Spaces designed for self in navigation. So basically, when you would be coming in the entrance from Garfield Street, you'd be entering for the new, but you'd also have sightline to the original library as well. There's open sight lines, as I said, you know, a lot of the stuff that we're looking for accessibility, basically, like, you know, assistive listening systems, you know, ADA compliant, having consideration for gender neutral restrooms, because that's becoming a bigger thing now. And just, you know, like even the sensory room for, you know, the autistic, I think has been, you know, a lot of places nowadays, you can go to a movie and have a sensory friendly movie experience. So, you know, having something like that here would be good. Just kind of showing you on the kind of the floor plan there, as well as we just wanted to kind of show that the original buildings all the way to the left and under the solid, you see the dash line contains out to where the 1988 expansion, which is what the current library is. And the plan is for the original building to be preserved and then everything become new to the right of that, towards Garfield Street.
So at the atrium, if you're
Mhm.
inside.
I know that you mentioned gender neutral bathrooms. Does that include the idea of like the family bathrooms that you now see in like airports and stuff?
You see family. I mean, I can make a note of that as well. I'm just trying to think of anything like that because I've also come across places where they have, you know, it actually says gender neutral on them as well. So I mean, there may be, you know, some combination, you know, maybe of that just to, you know, satisfy the purposes.
Yeah, I just think of like, I don't know how much it's happening, but I know that some of my younger friends, like you have dads taking their daughters places, you know, and like it's weird for them to try and take their daughter into the men's bathroom, but they're not accepted.
Currently in
the
our
women's.
children's room, we have.
Does it?
They're
Okay.
they're single bathrooms, but they're family bathrooms with the
Gotcha.
intent that people can go and save changing areas.
So it might
and what
already
have
be
you.
included in all of this. It was the thought I had.
All right, so just kind of showing more of a concept of, you know, how, you know, I'll say spread out what the collection would be. That, you know, you got a lot more lighting. It's not as dark as we were seeing before. This is where we're talking about multi-purpose spaces with movable furniture, you know, available to be configured depending on times of days, usage of the room. So that was kind of where we're talking about with the teens room, and as well as, you know, anything with the community room and any of the other rooms we have.
To your sensory room, like when you're talking about like especially for folks who are artistic, but I was also thinking it has the potential to be used as like a meditation room. When you're talking about a space that's quieter, like again, to the multi-purpose factor of these things. I don't know how that works.
We could certainly tie in as well to, there's a lot of yoga businesses in town that I was just thinking of, so.
It was just a thought I had while I was looking at this. I was like, oh, that purple space would be great to meditate.
They'll have open sight lines, just kind of showing you here how, you know, you can see throughout from the collection desk all the way down, you know, where the stacks are, and not just, you know, have everything all together. And we also wanted to point out the fact that the historic building is still going to be a key, you know, feature of our new library. We are expanding quite a bit of the space, but we are not, you know, you're still going to be able to see the history in the old library from when you enter. As I was showing you before, you're entering from where the Garfield Street entrance is, going through and everything like that. As you go further and further in, you're going to begin into where the original building is, all the way at the other end.
And that just feels really key to sort of like being a New England town and like preserving some of that history. I also just think about like all the Hallmark movies that get made again. You know, like we'll have a picture of somebody outside the library. They'll inside maybe in some soundstage somewhere, but the outside.
The outside is.
Yeah.
And then just more concepts, just showing that, you know, how open it'll be and everything, variety of seating options. When you get to the floor plans, you'll see that, you know, the first and second floor are more expanded as well. So
You could see the old building both in the previous picture and this one, how
Mhm.
that they would flow into it.
yeah, you see where if you're on the second floor where
Yeah, the second
where
floor.
windows are. And then, as I said, we stress a lot of times with the open and flexible spaces, just having, even quiet spaces for people to just be able to go off into seating.
Seating.
So then we wanted to point out with the children's area and everything, because right now our children's area, as I was pointing out, was fairly small. This one, the concept was even having it open out into a secure children's garden. So they could even get, some out, when it's not raining, obviously, but you can go outside into the garden, everything like that, and have some outdoor activities with the kids, but have them still contained within the library so that you don't have to worry about that. Room for strollers, and as I said, once again, full of natural light. That's the key thing, is trying to get as much light in as possible. And then once again, just making sure the children's area is open and flexible as well, because we want different programs might require different, different configurations.
One of the things that we used to do prior to the parking lot, the temporary parking lot that was put up to help with the town hall expansion, that was basically, we had 2 lawns worth. And a lot of our children's programs were outside in the summertime with butterfly gardens, and they did all sorts of, plus just reading, all the reading programs moved outside. So they were outside under the trees and whatever. So this type of thing gives us back that opportunity.
Well, and I know you guys may not know this yet, but will trees be a part of that or something like, or coverage?
For the coverage,
potentially?
well, as I said, I think for the children's area and everything with the garden, I think the concept there showed a tree and everything like that, but I mean,
But I
that's
know
certainly
that's
something we
not-
can, yeah, but I mean, I think, it really depends, I guess, on how we're doing the outdoor area itself in the plaza, spaces for where there could potentially be trees, but as I said, I think, at the initial part, we were thinking the outdoor seating and stuff like that and everything. I don't think it got into the specifics of, the
Okay,
plan.
I just saw the pretty tree. I
Yep.
was like, oh,
Nope.
that'd be nice.
So here's the concept plan for the ground floor, with a color coding kind of showing each different areas. As you can see, there's the outdoor area all the way to the right. There's the children's outdoor garden up on the top, and the exterior event space. So you can see we do greatly expand our outside space. We also expand the community room, is that big blue one down on the bottom there. So that expanded there. And what we've also done too is we want to make sure that the Friends of the Library had space. Now, as I said, this is conceptual design, so it may move where exactly they were, but we wanted to make sure we allocated space. But one of the things we also wanted to do was towards the entrance on the right, on the bottom, you see a little brown square, because they have their Friends of the Library store right now in the library. And so we still want to kind of keep that up front and center, as people are coming into the library as well. And then, as you can see, there's teen area, there's, a lot more room for staff as well. That's a lot of the gray area that you see there. So,
Awesome.
And that's the original building.
Right.
yeah. And then for the second floor, as I said, there'll be, more staff area, but there's also quite a few more meeting rooms that are considered up there. There's a consideration for a quiet reading room. And just, the general collection area kind of being in the center, but showing kind of what we were showing with the concepts before, where, stacks maybe against the wall and everything, and then shorter ones in the middle there and everything, so you can kind of see across to everything.
One of the things that we did, just so that if the question comes up, because I've heard it before, and again, it's one of those things that I know in the back of my head because we've talked about it, but when the library did the addition in 1988, prior to that, there was a previous edition that got taken down, which was it was a big children's room, but it was on the side facing here toward the town hall. That was all taken out, but it was accessible from the road and it was on one level. It got moved to the second story in the addition. A lot of that had to do with safety concerns. But what it does mean now is that any stroller or anything else is on the elevator. And that can be a constraint if you've got a program with 25 toddlers and moms and other assorted. We still keep the safety aspect of it in this current configuration because it's away from the main entrance, but it's still on the first level.
Mhm. Takes them out of the elevator.
All right, so now we're kind of getting into some more of the numbers, part of this. And this is kind of showing you kind of the new addition part from the backside. Also showing you, all the light that's going in, but basically just saying that the existing library toll area was, about 23,600 square feet. And the proposed library toll area is planned to become 55,200. So, it's about, more than double of it, yeah. Also including the fact that we're gonna have 14,800 square feet of outdoor area, because that was also, pictured on the concept plan as well. Projected project schedule, based off of our discussions, was, there'd be a design duration of 14 months, construction duration of 16 months, so about 2.5, 3 years to complete. And then we wanted to put up here kind of a listing of where it would be funded by. Obviously, we don't have, specific numbers on those quite yet, but that's what we're working towards. Because Eric, you've kind of been helping me with the structural engineer part and everything that we're still in discussion with, so.
Yeah, we've reached out to a structural engineer to do the required study for grants for libraries in the state. There's some monies available, and I think we're just kind of gonna try and move forward with that at some point.
Yeah, I was just getting I think the questions answered, and I think I was gonna bring it back to the board when we have our next meeting, so.
One thing occurred to me here, and I don't know if it's said in here. And again, it's one of those things that I know in the back of my head, so it could have been written, and I apologize if I'm repeating it. One of the things about the outside space, not only were we looking for places for people to gather, whether it be when we were in COVID or just plain having a function area.
Right.
Was one of the things that people came to us for a great deal and still do is Wi-Fi access. So we wanted to make sure that all of those little pavilions and whatever, that the portico that's up there and what have you, that there's access around the building. And therefore people could, as you said, bring a cup of coffee and sit and do their thing.
And you want to have that available for outdoor events as well.
Right,
anyway,
right,
so.
right.
So then here was the breakdown on the estimated project cost. This was provided to us, I believe, from the architect, had provided us a line by line to show that.
They reached out to a construction management firm.
Yeah, so, and then, as I mentioned before, when we were talking about sustainability, there is a green roof item in there for that particular item, but everything else is listed in there for the project total for their overall library renovation.
I'm just gonna ask this because I'm aware of it, whether it's required or not. Has there been an environmental phase 1 study done? Like, are we gonna run into any kind of potential environmental remediation on the site? I don't know. They did have some issues when they did some town hall stuff in this general area. I'm not saying it's gonna be over there, but I don't know whether it's an old underground oil tank, coal bunker, anything like that could potentially come up.
I think
Just
it's
so that we're aware.
asbestos wise, and this, I'm speaking, I not of knowledge, but in terms of my knowledge in the industry, 1972 asbestos, we went from being able to go in and rip it off your hands to starting masking. And by 1990, our guys were suiting up like spacemen to work in there. So in 1988, 89, we were at that particular destination where they would have been clearing it out. So I don't think we're into asbestos or whatever. As to tanks that are abandoned and things, I do know we had a room we discovered because it was just blocked off during that old construction phase back in 60 whatever. So I mean, I'm not saying we won't encounter most, but I think the 88, 89 construction window got rid of a lot of that.
And that's why I'm just saying that it's probably, I would suspect that would be a question either from council or from somebody in the public if it comes up, just so we're aware of it, so we're not like, we don't know, but.
Structural engineer looked at some of those questions from the old building, not necessarily oil tanks in the ground, but.
It's possible. I mean, he's gonna review any old plans that we have to go through, because it has basically, load bearing on floors and stuff like that to make sure they can support stacks and stuff like that. And So those are the kinds of things you're
Now,
gonna do.
what was the term that you used to refer for the environmental? It was like
It's usually
environmental.
like an environmental phase one, you know, usually that's for underground type of stuff that may find, you know, I'm not aware of. I'm a lifelong resident here, but I'm not aware of, you know, the site being utilized for any other kind of town activity, you know, town vehicles or anything like that, or storing there. It was always been the library, and the closest thing I can think of would be an underground tank, which wouldn't be that big a deal. Cause like you said, it's probably been abandoned and it may have already been addressed at some point in the past.
And if I'm correct, I believe we addressed those situations when we demolished the two houses where the parking lots are. So those issues
Yep.
have been addressed.
Yeah, all those utilities were capped and everything, and I do remember that.
Now, after, wasn't some of that done when the Friends of the Library bought those?
It's not
Those
the
areas.
Friends,
and
the
that's
board.
also
The board.
when
The board
parking
bought
lot
it.
Put in a new drainage.
Yeah,
The board bought it with the friends.
Yeah.
the only thing that's under the parking lot that's even of issue is a MDC water line water main that isn't used anymore.
Is waters or sanitary? I can't remember.
I thought it was water.
It could be, like, yeah. And it may be because if the water came in from the back of the houses, I don't remember, but
Right.
yeah.
But
Okay. That's, it's just, you know, I just don't want us to be surprised.
No, that's good, just to make sure we cover it. And then what I wanted to list here was kind of next steps in progress, because as I said, we wanted to get a presentation out to Lark. We wanted to kind of get it to a point where, it could be as I'll say, introduction, informational, you know, providing even for town council as well. But just to let them know that we are still continuously working on this presentation, such as, if you notice, there's a slide in there for children's space, but not for teen space, because that was gonna take a little bit more time with the architect to put into here, but we wanted to make sure that we didn't forget about it. We were thinking about it, just we haven't put it in there yet. A transition plan to be developed by the library staff, because obviously, while the library's being demolished and constructed, you need to be able to provide, you know, some amount of the services as well. And then, I also put in there about the structural engineering report, that you've been helping us, kind of communicate with,
Yeah.
on that, so.
I will say that on the grant writing, once the structural engineering report goes on, there are several grants. I know that various folks on the board and our staff have been reaching out to Sonia to assist us with the grant writing aspects of it. Those certifications that we need to do, there's one particular one that comes to mind that I have to attend every year so that I'm eligible to listen to the webinar and go through it, you know. But we'll jump through all the hoops as a board. And again, I'm not speaking as a LARC member here, I'm speaking as a board member. We have a board that's very dedicated to this project. You also need to know that the library board, while we are not cash rich, we are certainly looking at all our investment portfolios to see how we can help ante up. And I can't but help remind you that the library board has already expended $500,000 to purchase those two properties with the idea of expansion. And we maintain individual insurance and things like that on that to keep that going. It is a long-term goal. Whether I'm on the board or I'm long gone, you know, this is not my goal. It is the long-term goal of the board to expand the library.
Right, well, thank you
Welcome.
for that. Appreciate that.
And I appreciate all the feedback as well. I've been writing down a lot of notes to kind of take back with me and digest through, so.
Thank you for sharing.
Welcome.
Certainly, when you look at this and you're able to read it, as you said, you're looking at pictures and listening to what Chris has been addressing you about, and all my added little verbatim here, I apologize, I jump in. Any thoughts that you come back? As I said, we kind of live and breathe this, so we know what we're talking about, and we assume everyone else does too. So, any suggestions as to how that we can make this really work?
I know it's in my engineering field and everything, it's the same way. I'll be working on a project, a presentation, and after a while, I got it as much as I can get it and everything like that, and I think it's good, and I need someone else to kind of take a look at it. And
No, I think this was good. I think, you know, we provided some feedback, some questions and comments, and you guys can incorporate them or have the architect incorporate them. Now, I suspect, as we'll kind of roll into the next item on the agenda, is potential recommendation to council. I don't know what you're thinking about. I assume you want to at least tweak this presentation one more time, maybe with the architect, with some of this stuff. I don't know. That's why I'm kind of asking what you know, I'm not asking anybody to needlessly spend money either that we don't have to. If this is something that you guys or we can help to incorporate into the plan, I think that's fine. And then we can look at getting on a future agenda for council. Cause that's, you know, I'm probably gonna need at least a month of lag time, so to speak, to get it on agenda setting. And
I know, just to kind of let you know, the kind of approach that I had taken with the presentation was when I got a lot of the feedback in, I was trying to kind of, I'll say, prioritize certain pieces and everything like that. So if there's certain things from the feedback and everything like that, I'm gonna kind of summarize the list there. But maybe if, you know, if we prioritize, okay, well, these things would be good before, I'll say, our informational meeting with the town council. And then these other things can be worked on before the final presentation. Maybe we can work it out that way and everything like that. That way I can make sure that, you know, if we have the architects working on the stuff, they're working on, you know, the specific items right now. And then, you know, if we need to, we can.
if that's the case, the notes that you took tonight, sure, great. Can you like kind of just send out us some bullet points to the group? And we can each kind of weigh in, say, hey, we think these are the important items, and then we can help narrow that focus.
Yep.
Am I understanding that we want to kind of shoot for presenting an informational to the town council in February? Is that what we're looking at, or are we looking at January?
I don't think we're not gonna make January.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
it's also what the council has on its agenda,
Yeah.
which is the budget coming up.
Yeah.
And if you want this to move quicker, in essence of getting it out to the council, you need to find a time where there isn't tons of time
Yeah.
devoted to the budget, which is the primary reason why the council is there. So if depending on how quickly you want this to move
Yeah,
to
we
the
don't
end
wanna
product, and
wait
we
for
all know
March.
from the
No,
past,
I wasn't planning.
what go fast, slow, what kind of prohibits it from going forward, that something needs to be presented to council before they get into the budget process.
When do they
Otherwise,
get
you're
into the
pushed
budget?
off
March and
way
April, you don't see.
till
March and April. you know,
March,
so-
April,
we need to
depending
be-
upon, we've yet to get the schedule. We may
Right.
at the next meeting for how the budget plan is going to
Yeah.
go in terms of
Yeah, the manager
meetings.
kind of lays out a general idea.
Yeah,
Well,
so
that's why I was asking. I'm like, I think we should have an idea of when we're shooting to try and
Initially,
maybe
we were
even
gonna
start
try.
the request.
We were shooting for as early as possible. So
Yeah.
as I said, if it's early February, I think that's still before the
I'll
town
reach
council
out
gets into.
To
all
Lauren
the budget.
tomorrow and see what the scheduling looks like, and I'll push that out and say, hey, you know, it's gonna be February 22nd or whatever, just pull a date out of the air.
and I
Yeah.
do know that there's nothing official, but there are rumors about other parts of town looking to push for monies for this, whatever, which may be referendum.
Yeah.
And I don't think that for the interests of this committee, we want to get pushed down the line that for yet another year.
I was gonna say
whatever.
again.
Yeah, that's why I
No, I
was,
think.
I was just thinking that even with the prioritizing what we
Yeah.
have them working
Yeah.
on, it seems like we're at a point where we could do an informational.
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
least.
and that's part of what I was thinking is that's why I wanted to get this out as soon as I could.
Mhm.
Because this way we have something to at least get in front of town council's eyes. And then I think, as I said, a lot of the stuff that we were talking about, we can make sure that all that is firmed up by the time that we come back to council and say, hey, okay, we want to be put on referendum, which we would expect kind of do that after your budget season and everything like that, you know, probably early summertime type thing to get it on there, so.
And once again, be aware of those dates from the state. If you
Yep.
wanted to go on the fall. And even then, last time around, it was found, the library found that we had a certain date, and then something else got put on referendum after the dates that I shared with you, and I was told from official sources it was able to go through. Nothing against the project that was on the last referendum, but
Was a different,
question,
it
why,
was a
why
different
was
table.
this happening now when
Yeah,
that
it was a
happened,
different-
when we thought the deadlines went
Okay.
by, so,
Again, I can run that by Lauren.
I have a question that actually I think our two public attendees could potentially answer, Diane and Karen. It's regarding, well, Diane, you said you had a question about the timing aspect of it.
Well, I was just gonna suggest and remind that our goal with the first meeting with town council is to give them, as VG called it, an informational update. We are not asking to go on referendum at this point, because I think there is more work from the architects. We're waiting for the report from the structural engineer. We want to nail down some grant opportunities that might be out there. But we don't want to wait to that point. We need to get in there in February. I think to have you guys be able to, this body look at the diagrams and get back to Chris with some information, questions, things that we have to punch. I think we have to figure out, I don't know who among you is going to present, and if it's among you, who is going to present this to town council. But it needs to be a snazzy presentation. There needs to be a lot of entertainment and enthusiasm. And what it can't just be, a factual presentation. So I don't know who I'm happy to help work with. Chris, I think, has done an outstanding job. He not only pulls it together, he gets the information he's gone through, he's kept us on track, and we're moving through with that. Having said that, Chris has been with the library months, a year, you know what I mean? It's amazing. So there's a lot more background, maybe a lot more anecdotal information that can go in to the presentation that kind of brings it home to people. One of the things I was thinking about is, you talk about it, the HVAC. Well, for years, right, all we got were rebates. Update your refrigerator, update your stove, update your dishwasher, update your heating system, your air conditioning system. You'll get all these credits from the government because we were using too much energy, right? It's going to be better for you to do that. So that's the kind of the thing that I think when you're presenting to town council, because you're not only presenting to town council, you're presenting to whoever else in the community is listening. And you've got to talk to both people. You have to talk to the people that have gone through 1,000 building renovations, and they inherently know what a solar panel is, what a green roof is, what the HVAC improvements from 40 years ago is going to do for us now, right? What all of that is. But you've got to bring it home somehow to the people. And you got to say, HVAC, think of all those rebates that we've been getting. How much more efficient is your air conditioner, is your dishwasher, is your refrigerator? Bring it home from that. I think we need a lot of anecdotal information. The idea of, we've moved the children's room, and why we moved the children's room down on the first floor. Well, first we put it upstairs for security. Then we had a program with 30 people and 25 strollers and 1 elevator. So now we're rethinking that, right? We've learned.
At a time.
Yeah, you could fit 2 if it's a small. But that whole idea, I think that has to be part of the presentation, because you're not just selling to the town council and, engineer to engineer. We're selling to the community, even though it's an informational meeting. And I think that part needs to be stated up front. This is an informational update. It is our intent to come back to you and, ask to go on a referendum. But we want you to know where we are on this, what's happening. And it is our intent to get approval to go on the referendum for that time. We want everybody put on notice, because we have been pushed back so many times in that. So those are the things, certainly you've seen this for the first time. As we've all said, we live this in and out. You've come back with a lot of great questions in terms of what happens. And I think that's what we can do. And we talked about the community room. So we've got a community room today. It's great. Right now, Fire Marshal says we can have 60 people in there. Please don't count the number of times we've gone over by 1 or 2 or 10, right? But how do we do that in the library? So this is our plan for the new community room, and we can go in and out and back and forth. So I think you really have to look at that. I don't know if I wouldn't and I'm the world's worst, because I go through this the whole time, and when I do something for work myself, I have the presentation, and I have it all done, it's midnight, I close it down, I open up at 6 o'clock the next morning, I'm like, I'm gonna move slide, 10 to slide 4. I am the world's worst at that, so you can stop me from doing that, but I don't know if we wanna flash the, like, this is where we are, this is what we could be, and then go back and forth with just a quick picture. I know we're holding like what it looks like in the beginning, and my feeling was I couldn't wait to get to the razzmatazz picture that shows the indoor-outdoor space. Bring in the COVID ideas. During COVID, there was a fellow that sat on the bench by the little sundial in front of it to get the Wi-Fi, because it didn't have Wi-Fi at home. Almost every day I came by the library to check something out or do whatever, and I'm not saying I came by every day, but almost every day that I did do something like that, it was out there. And one day I talked to him from across the way. I said, what are you doing? I said, are you comfortable there, or what's going on? I said, I see you here all the time. I said, do you like the library? He says, I like its Wi-Fi. Right? But now we have the idea of outdoor seating. So you could grab a cup of coffee, have your laptop, have your Kindle, have a hardcover book. You got 20 minutes for lunch. You walk through the park, you're gonna sit down here, you're gonna have lunch inside, outside. Is that a library? No. Is it a community service? Yes.
You also think about kids doing homework. The
Kids doing
Wi-Fi
homework
access.
in and out, that outdoor space, that's where we could have the little seating programs and stuff like that. And I think that's what we have to talk about. Maybe we need to get some help from, what programs do we have today? What happens? What goes on? What doesn't go? Paint a picture for people, because we know what we do. But there's a lot of people out there. There are people, we still hear comments of like, does anybody even go to the library anymore?
Mm.
Well, that's where some of those statistics in the beginning is like, oh yeah, they do.
But then those people who are asking, does anybody go? Like, okay, people do, but what are they going for?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they come,
And-
it's the circulation and the
Yeah,
and
yeah.
is definitely.
And the and is what I think a lot of people don't necessarily know.
The and the why, and I think it's gotta be a pumped up presentation, so think about that, think about the showmanship, think about what happens from that. You need to have your hard facts. You need to bring it home to, the person that taught me the most about giving a presentation was one of my nephews when he was like 8 years old. I was telling him something and I went on and on, like I'm doing now. And he looked at me, he says, so? Like, what do you mean so? He's like, so what? So how do you bring that home to me? How does it make sense to me, right? So that's where I'm saying with the HVAC, with the other things, try to tie it in and bring it home. Who uses the library anymore?
Know your
Oh my God,
audience.
we have all these people. Well, in our audience, we have many different people in the audience.
And there's
But I-
different audiences within our audience.
Right. But I absolutely think it's critical to get in front of the board before, or the town council before, budget season.
So basically, you have council. Here next week, right? So you have January 14th and 28th. Which we're not gonna probably make the January meetings.
Fine.
And we have February 11th and 25th, it looks like.
I think if we could do it the 11th, if we
Yeah.
could be ready for the 11th, that would be great. And if there's room on the agenda. Um,
And I will, and again, I will check with Lauren on that to see if we can get on some kind of agenda setting.
and then,
Before
and then the
that.
second choice, if we could do the 11th, would be that
After,
next one.
so.
Because in council's defense, and I've watched budget season now my whole life, from March till April, that's all there is.
They don't have bandwidth for anything else. It's
Well,
an
and it's
incredible
not just the
process that they do.
Tuesday meetings. they have so many
Tuesday meetings,
meetings.
Saturday meetings.
They're all over
nighttime
the
meetings.
place.
We don't have bandwidth for anything else. So,
If that's the case, we only have 2 Thursdays for the 11th. And that would be the 23rd and the 30th. I mean, we have next Thursday.
Mhm.
If we want to try and set, we should set our next meeting. Tonight.
and information can go back and forth in email to keep you guys updated, but to go back to the architect and do different slides, I mean, if we can tweak the slides that we have to give the information. or
Yeah, and that's
something,
fine. And I had no.
But I don't think we're going back for any more architectural, drawings or pictures.
And,
Yeah.
Not for the information labs.
and I'm just,
Yeah.
so. Do we want the architect there for the informational meeting? if,
I wonder if we should be saving him for the big.
I mean, I'm sure they're gonna want it there for when,
Oh, the official
The official
presentation
one,
for referendum,
absolutely.
it's an absolute.
okay, that's fine, that's what I suspected.
Yeah.
And it's, and I'm okay with just going without them for the informational.
Do you-
Because any questions that we get asked, we can say, well, you know, we'll make a note to make sure
It
the
gets back
formal
to the-
presentation, the architect addresses.
Right.
Which,
Yeah.
you know, if they're, because I'm sure we'll get, you know, we'll get some commentary from council members. And I don't know if
Possibly the public.
the public, depending on how the agenda's set up, whether they're gonna be allowed to speak or not on the topic at that night. We don't know.
It's informational, and
Yeah.
that's the thing that I think you really need to get through. It's like, it's informational, this is where we are now, and we're planning to come back.
It's kind of showing you how far we've come and then how we still gotta go a little ways to go.
Then there are also the questions that you were just saying that can't be answered. You could say, these are the questions we want, so we can go to the architect when we
Right.
come to the final
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
We have the answers for you. And there's nothing worse than spinning wheels.
Right. Well, and I have a concern too, when we are still, if you want to put 90%, just as to use it, and you put that architect in front of it. I have, over the course of the years, been on way too many building committees or watched building projects go through, that when you put an architect too soon into the mix, the council or others become lost in the questions that they start asking. And here, one of the things that the public has the most difficult time about understanding is, this is a concept. This is not necessarily what your end product will be, but people get lost in, well, why are you putting the bathroom next to, you know, this or whatever? And I don't think we want to do that in the informational setting.
I agree.
Can we set our next meeting? I'm sorry, I'm really hungry.
Oh,
So do we want to try and meet next Thursday? Or is that,
Next Thursday, I have a conflict.
okay?
I could do 2 weeks better than next Thursday, but if I do next Thursday, it'll have to be after 6:30 and it'll have to be remote.
Let's see, the first and third Thursdays, both Kimrat and I have conflicts problems.
All right, so the
Actually, I have a conflict with the things I already am
I got you. So,
booked to.
so the 23rd
I think 2 weeks is enough for you to.
is,
What's in the third?
I think so. Just kind of pull together the questions and try to, you know, tweak and everything. Like, I mean, when I put together a presentation before, you know, a few days of
Okay.
people's feedback, I was able to, I just gotta find the time and set it aside that.
No, I get it, I get it.
My
I
family's
just-
not
I
pulling me
I
apart.
mean, no, I just don't want you to, you know, take on more than you can chew for 2 weeks from now.
so that would, so if we meet on the 23rd, that would actually still give us the 30th. If we needed to on a Thursday, or the first Thursday in February before the 11th, which would be the 6th, and that's
Okay.
assuming we can get on the 11th.
Okay.
So that would still give us, and if we haven't get bumped to the 25th, and we actually have a
We
couple
actually
items.
have one more date.
And,
yeah.
and,
So-
and even before the, you know, before that next meeting, I can always send stuff out through email for you guys to look at and everything and provide feedback so that when we do meet and everything, maybe is not too much that has to be, you know, changed or at that point.
If there's something we need to vote on for a quorum, make certain we are all
Yeah.
available,
So I'm gonna set the next
even
meeting
if it's not a specific Thursday.
for January 23rd at 6:30 PM. Right,
Okay.
that works for you, Chris?
Yep.
So it's now 6:30 from now on, right?
Yeah, and you know, we're always kind of a little fluid. We've kind of bumped them around before, but yeah, we'll shoot for
That's-
6:30.
Whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe
So I know.
you'll get a sandwich before she gets in here.
I did a snack before, but, I did a big snack, but
And then we will also, I'll look at setting some other, like I said, I'll get out something with some potential meeting dates going forward for us. So we can vote on those next month, and I'll have the minutes. And
They're just about to adjourn.
do we have any other public comment?
Well, that wasn't enough, my whole
We weren't
soliloquy.
there yet. You know, if you wanna add an addendum,
Or if Karen has anything.
I think you're good.
No,
you're good, Karen? Okay,
I'm good. Thank you.
thank you.
I'll help in any way I can, you know, how important this is to me, so.
We appreciate it. That being said, I think I will now adjourn the meeting.
I so move.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see what my daughter's been texting me about picking up on the way home.
Peter's calling me because we have friends from North Carolina calling at 7:30 to